Hello, today we are going to talk about Simplify Surds Part 1. The questions are based on EDECEL IGCSE, AQA and OCR exam questions. So, simplifying sword, what we mean by sword here? A sword means a number that cannot be simplified to remove a square root or cube root. So for example, root 2, square root 2. If you find it using calculator, we'll get a decimal number. So here, square root of 2, square root 2 equal 1.414. But so this is a sword number. For instance, square root of 9. And 9 is a complete square, so we can find the root easily. So 9 is no more than 3 times 3, which means plus minus 3. So here it's not a sword. So here a sword. So that means a sword is a number that cannot be simplified to remove a square. So square root cannot be simplified further. And we have seen it in using calculator, we got a decimal number if you want to find the value. For square root 9 can be simplified to be plus or minus 3. So it's not a sword. Now we'll go with the question number 1. Question number 1 here, 8 square root 8 can be expressed in the form m times square root 2, where m is a positive. Express 8 times square root 8 in the form m times square root. So here we have 8 times square root 8, and 8 here, it means 4 times 2. So 2 factors, if you multiply them, you will get 8. 1 times 8 will not help us, so we will use factors 4 and 2. And we know that square root of a times b equal square root a times square root b. So we'll do the same here. So this rule is important. Now 8 times square root 4 times square root 2 equal 8 times square root 4 is 2 times square root 2, which is equal 16 root 2. Here they mentioned m is a positive number, so here for the square root 4 we cannot choose minus 2. So by this way we simplified it, and we rewrite 8 times square root 8 in the form m times square 2. So m here is equal 16. Second question here. Second question, write 5 square root 3 as a single square root. So they need it here to be a single square root. That means I should put 5 inside the root. I don't have to see L5. Now L5 or L25 is a complete square. That means it's 5 times 5. So if you put square root to 25, we'll have under the square root 25, which is equal under the square root 5 times 5. So this is what we should do here. That means we rewrite 5 to be square root of 25. Now we will write it like this: square root of 25 times square root of 3. This will give us, as you know before, this rule is important, a times b under the square root equal under the square root a times square root b, so you can move from this form to this form. So here we'll have under the square root 25 times 3, which is equal under the square root 15, 3 times 2 6, 75. So here we have under the square root 75. So we rewrite 5 square root 3 in a single square root. Question 3 here, simplify square 2 times square root of 72. We know that 72 equal to 8 times 9. So here 2 times square root of 72, we can change it to 8 times 9. We know that 9 is a complete square, so we will separate or distribute the square root to 8 and 9. So we'll get 2 times square root a times square root 9. Now we have 2 square root of 8. 8 is 4 times 2 times square root of 9, which is equal to square root of 4 times square root of 2 times square root of 9. Now square root of 4 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and here we have 3. So here we have 3, square root of 9 is 3, here we have 2, so 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, so we'll get a 12 square root 2. Now question number 4. Question number 4 here, add or subtract sort that require simplifying. Okay, now write square root 500 minus 2 square root 45 in the form a times square root 5, where a is an integer. So now here we know that square root of 500 is no more than 5 times 100. So we will rewrite it as under the square root 5 times 100 minus 2 times square root of 45 is no more than 9 times 5. Now here square root 5 times square root 100 minus 2 square root 9 square root 5. Here we have 10 and here we have a 3. So we have 10 square root 5 minus 2 times 3 is 6 square root 5. So 10 square 5 minus 6 square 5, it's 4 square 5. Question 5 here, simplify. Simplify square root 18. We know that square root 18 is no more than square root of 9 times 2, which is equal to square root 9 times square root 2 equal 3 square root 2. Question 6, simplify square root of 45. You know that 45 is not a complete square, so that means we can use the factors here, and the factors of 45 is 9 times 5, and 9 is a complete square, so we can find square root of 9, square root 9 times square root 5, which is equal 3 square root 5. Question 7 here, simplify, square root 75. 25 times 3, yeah, so here 75, you can rewrite it as square root of 25 times 3. because 25 times 3 is 75, so 25 is a complete square. So that means we can take a square root for 25 times square root of 3, which is equal 5 times square root 3. A question 8 here. Simplify square root 147. Question 8 here. Simplify square root 147. If you are using complete squares like 1, then 4, sorry, those are complete squares. 1, 4, 9, which is 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4 is 16, and so on. You will reach to 49, and 49 goes into 147 3 times. That means this square root here, 147, 49 times 36, 49 times 3, sorry, which is equal to square root 49, which is 49 a complete square, because 7 times 7 times square root of 3. This will give you 7 times square root of 3. If you find our square, complete square 36, adding how many times you will reach 47, 36 here, or using the calculator here quickly. So here 36 plus 36 equal 72, plus 36 equal 108, plus 36 equal 144, still less than 147, plus 36, you will get 180, which is bigger than 147. So 36 will not fit your our answer for. But if you're trying 49 plus 49 plus 49 3 times, you will get 147. So it's 49 times 3. A question 9 here. Simplify 7 times square root 192. So el 49, we saw it in 49 times 3. From the previous question we get 147 plus 49 will get 196. But if you use 64 plus 64, the second complete square, plus 64 equal 192, sorry, which is 64 times 3. So here we could write 7 times square root of 64 times 3. We'll get here 7 times square root 64 times square root 3. Here 7 times 8 times square root 3. We'll get 7 times square root 3. 56. Sorry. Yes. A question 10 here. Simplify 2 square root 8. This is equal 2 times 4 times 2. You will get 2 times 2 square root 2, which is equal 4 square root 2. Question 11 here. Okay, 95 here, 98 here. 98 is no more than 49 plus 49. 49 plus 49 will get 89. So 98. So 5 here is times 49 times 2. Square root of 49 is 7, times 3 is 35 square root 2. Question 12 here, 128. We can try also 64 here. 64 here, minus 64. equal 128, so 9 times 64 times square root 2. This will give us 9 times 8 times square root 2, which is 72 square root 2. Yes, these examples are important for one reason, that we will get used how to work out with big numbers like 128 using the complete squares like 1, 4, 6 and so on, to and see how many times this number goes to this number. For example, 128, we found out that 64 goes into 128 2 times. Question 13, write 12 square root 3 in the form square root a, where a is an integer to be found. Okay, so we need to find it. Here we will write 12 as a square number, so 12 times 12 is 144, so we will write it under the square root 144 times the square root of 3, then we'll put them under the 1 square, which is 144 times 3, and this will give us 144 times 3, this will give us 432. Question 14, same, so 7 times 7 is 49, so under the square root 49 times 6, this will give us 49 times 6, which is 294. Yes, now this is question 14. Question 12 here, last question here. Write it same as a single root, so 4 times 4 is 16, so under the square root 16 times 8, and this is equal to 124, I think. So 16 times 8 equal 128, 100 under the square root 128, and a is 128. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope these questions will help you to understand how you can simplify sorts. Thank you very much.